Alrighty, this is the initial kickoff for the 2024 Platform Committee for the Libertarian Party. Welcome, everyone. As you saw in the meeting notice, we do have an agenda. This is going to be just a kickoff meeting. Hopefully make it short and sweet, nothing too crazy. I recognize we're running across multiple time zones here. So first item on the agenda is a roll call to see who is here. So I'm just going to go down the list and please let me know if you're present or not. This is just alphabetical by rep and alternates. So, Mr. Alstad.
Here.
Mr. Barber.
Here.
Mr. Benner. Okay. Mr. Bergman. Okay. Mr. Bergman is waving. Mr. Bowman.
So hungry we have other options.
Wayne, close the door. All right, resist that one. Mr. Brooksbank.
Present.
Mr. Cholko.
Here.
Ms. Eiler. Okay. Mr. Enser.
Present.
Mr. Johnson.
Present.
Mr. Labrie.
Here.
Ms. Leatherman.
Here.
Mr. McCose.
Present.
Mr. Melchin.
Hmm.
Mr. Montoni.
Here.
I am here. Mr. Shaw. Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Mr. Weir. Anybody from Wyoming? Okay. Alternates. Mr. Chatterton.
Present.
Ms. Clift. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Kraus. Mr. Marinovich. Mr. Matties. Mr. Osborne. Mr. Rebman.
Here.
Mr. Roman.
Here.
Mr. Veldhuizen. Did I pronounce
Here.
that right? Did I pronounce that right?
It's
I'm sorry?
Veldhuizen.
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 Okay, got it. Thank you. Mr. Goodley. Ms. Harlos.
Present.
And Mr. Gonzalez. All righty, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 representatives present, so we do have a quorum. Mr. Chatterton, you are an alternate for Michigan. Mr. Bowman is not here. Hold on a second. We have 2 entries here of Mr. Alstead and Ms. Clift. Hang on. There we go. Let's see who else. Mr. Redmond, you are an alternate for New York, but Ms. Leatherman is here. Mr. Romig, you are an alternate for Pennsylvania, but Mr. Ensor is here, and Mr. Veldhuizen, you are an LNC alternate, and you will be sitting for that position for Mr. Benner. And then Ms. Harlos, you're the second alternate, so you'll be sitting for Ms. Eiler. And that should be it. Hold on one second. Yep, we're in good shape. All right.
Hello, I just joined.
Yes, we got you, Ms. Cliff. We have
Okay,
you.
thank you. I'll mute.
No, you're good.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Ware just texted me and said he's tied up with a realtor, but he'll be in a moment.
Thank you. All righty. Members of the public who are not committee members, would you please raise your hand real fast so I can see who all is here? All right, I do see Mr. Trosper. Forgive me, I'm writing this down at the moment too, so.
Mr. Chair, I have a standing favor to ask from you.
Yes, ma'am.
If maybe you can upload these recordings into the platform committee folder, because I'd like to get them on the historical committee YouTube channel for the public to watch at a later time.
I will look into that.
Yeah, I'll get them uploaded to the channel. I just need the files.
Okay, and where do you want them sent to again?
If you just make a folder in the platform committee, Google,
Gotcha.
I'll just pull them down from there and get them up on the historical committee YouTube channel where we put the bylaws meetings, because a lot of people do watch after the fact.
Can do. All righty. This point, quick moment, and that is just to satisfy my what's going on here. There we go. All righty. Quick introduction for everyone here. This is my third time on this committee in the past 3 terms. So just say that I've been here a little bit. So hopefully I will do everybody justice on this. Public comment. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to say anything at this point? Please raise your hand to be recognized if you do. Or members of the committee, secondary, Mr. Enser.
Yeah, thanks. I figured I'd give it a moment for anybody who's not a committee member to say something, but I would like to just suggest that we have a bit of a naming convention for these meetings, such as if for me, for example, at the beginning of my name, I was going to put PA-R for Pennsylvania Rep, because that's what I am, because I figured that'll make it easier to identify who's who.
Chair believes that's a good suggestion for everybody and would request that everybody take care of that with their own names. I have a list here of who's who that's not visible on the screen to everybody. So yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to do mine right now. No, that's changing the picture name. So in any case, yeah, Mr. Johnson's already done it. Let me figure out what I can do with my rename. There we go. Yeah, if you click on your name, you'll see a drop down of the 3 dots that says rename. You can do it there. And there's Mr. Weir. That makes us at 16 members, which is great. Now I'll put in the front. It's easier. Okay, there we go. Okay, any further public comment from anyone?
This is Matt Chalco, Virginia. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So I'm the rep from Virginia, and we have an alternate and a second alternate. Our second alternate is Albert Veldhuizen, who is also alternate, an LNC alternate.
Mhm.
Our first alternate in Virginia, I do not think has officially resigned, but sent me an email essentially saying that he resigned. He's not going to be able to do anything. So what will happen if I don't show for a meeting? How is it determined whether Mr. Veldhuizen will be sitting for me or the LNC? You know, if I don't even know the right way to put it, but if there were enough people missing, if enough LNC reps missing, that he was up for the LNC as well, how would that work?
That is a very good question.
If you don't know the answer, you know, just something we got to figure out.
We had a similar situation on the 2017/18 committee, where we had the California representative, Mr. Starr, was also an LNC alternate, and the question arose at the same time. Now, currently for this meeting, Mr. Veldhuizen is serving as LNC first alternate, sitting in for an LNC member who is not here in Mr. Benner. I understand what you're saying about Mr. Kraus. For the Virginia alternates, he would also shift up to the first alternate as well. If there is a situation where he has either case showing up, whether there is a choice between the Virginia delegate and the national alternate, Virginia alternate, national alternate, the solution is that they will have one position and only one vote, and it will be up to Mr. Veldhuizen to make the choice as to which one he would be voting as. And that determination needs to be made in order to determine other alternates for both LNC, and hopefully, Mr. Chalco, you'll have another alternate elected for Virginia just in case. So that's how we will proceed with that. And I'm going to call that a ruling of the chair. If there is an appeal from that, we will of course hear that, but I think that's our best approach at this moment. Something in the chat. Okay.
I'm going to be a pain in the ass, Mr. Chair. You know me. I actually don't think it can be a ruling because it's not a live situation. You'll have to make that ruling if this happens and somebody disagrees with it. What you've given is guidance on what your ruling would likely be. But there can't be no ruling because there isn't an issue
The point is well taken.
right now. And I would say to Mr. Chalco, if you will indulge me one moment, Mr. Seebeck, I do think what you said is correct, by the way. And if the LNC doesn't like that, or if Virginia doesn't like that, the appointing bodies have full freedom to rearrange their appointments. I think your ruling's absolutely correct. I mean, your advice on what your ruling would be is absolutely correct.
Thank you, Ms. Harlos. I appreciate that. All righty. Any further public comment or questions for me before we get on to the next item on the agenda? All right, hearing none, the next item on the agenda is number 3, election of a permanent chair. As you well know, I was appointed to the interim position by the LNC to at least get us up and running. It is my intention to seek the permanent chair position, but at this point, we will open the nominations for permanent chair for the platform committee. I will take the reign. I don't know if this is proper privilege for me or not, but I'm going to recognize myself and nominate myself. Are there other nominations for the position of committee chair? Okay, seeing none, I would point out to the committee that because we are more than a 12-person committee, we are not operating under small committee rules per Roberts. So there would have to be a motion to, I would entertain a motion at this point to close nominations.
Move to close nominations.
That was Mr. Ensor.
Yep.
10 seconds.
All righty. One moment, please. Got to take some notes. And who was the second, please?
Thompson.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I would ask folks that you please raise your hand to be recognized too, just so I can keep track of who's saying what for notes for the moment. All righty. Normally, I'm going you on a smaller committee. The question would be addressed with if there's any objection. However, Mr. Montoni has raised a point in chat, and he has a correct statement. Is that NOTA is also on the ballot. Being said, I will speak for myself first on this, and that I believe we can get this going pretty quick, and I believe I can do a good job running this committee. I'd also point out that I'm also currently training for my parliamentarian certification, and this type of work, it was actually a benefit to me in that direction. So if you see fit to put me in here, you're all helping me out too, to my appreciation. Does anybody wish to speak to NOTA?
My hand isn't raised for that. It's for later.
Understood, Ms. Harkless. Mr. Montoni says no, so. No, he says NOTA speaks for itself. Alrighty, Ms. Harkless.
Well, I was waiting till after the election was done.
Ah, okay, I apologize. I thought you wished to speak on this. Okay, I'll keep you in the queue. Okay. By a show of hands, and I have you in the queue, Ms. Harkless, so
Okay, I'll take it down.
yeah, for election for chair, votes for Mr. Seebeck, please raise your hand.
I intend to vote for you, but I can't get my hand to raise. Matt Chalco, Virginia.
Okay, you should be able to raise your hand under the there should be a little more with the three buttons. I think it's under there.
Yeah, I mean, I know it should be, but it's not. So.
Okay.
Also, if you physically raise your hand, Zoom
yeah.
can detect that.
If your video is on, yes.
Yeah, if Zoom is working correctly, it's supposed to be able to detect that and raise your hand.
No problems. Okay, now I gotta run these numbers. One moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13.
I think you'll find it under the reactions button.
Bergman and 14. Okay, I think I see 15 yes here, but let me double check the numbers here. 15 for me, that is, excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Chalco and Bergman are 14 and 15, if I'm seeing that correctly. Yeah, okay, so 15. Okay, let's get everybody's hands down, please.
Did you count Mr. Montoni? Because I don't know if his hand was able to be raised and he was in chat.
I have not taken the vote yet for NOTA, so.
Oh, no, he
Okay.
said he's voting for you.
Oh, okay, then that makes 17 then. Okay, or 16, excuse me. All right, votes for NOTA. Oh, come on, somebody's got to vote for NOTA just for the sake of voting for NOTA. Okay,
Mr.
16.
Chair, if you want me to change my vote, I'll change my vote.
It's okay, sir. I mean, whatever. It's one of those traditional things more than anything else. Okay, I apologize for sounding this, but I guess I'm elected or I maybe sentenced, I don't know. 16 to 0 votes for no. Okay. All right, next item of business, and I thank you all for your vote of confidence. I hope to do well. Ms. Harlos, please go ahead.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, I'd ask the chair if it's not correct that in R 5024 through 25, that all committees operate under small board rules, irregardless of size.
One moment, please. The point is well taken. 5025 says the informalities and modifications of the regular rules of parliamentary procedure listed in 4921 for use in small boards are applicable during the meetings of all standing and special committees, unless the committee is otherwise instructed by the society, and we to this point have not been so instructed. So yes, the point from Ms. Harlos is well taken. We are under small board procedure rules. So with that being said, I will explain what those are. 4921 says the following. Procedure in small boards. In a board meeting where there are not more than about a dozen members present, some of the formalities necessary in a large assembly would hinder business. The rules governing such meetings are different from the rules that hold other assemblies in the following respects. 1, members may raise a hand instead of standing when seeking to obtain the floor. They may remain seated while making a motion for speaking. Obviously, since we're on Zoom, we raise hands. 2, motions need not be seconded. 3, no limit to the number of times a member can speak to a debatable question, however, dilatory rules to apply. Appeals are debatable under regular rules. Each member can speak, except the chair can speak only once in debate on them, while the chair may speak twice. Informal of a discussion of the subject is permitted while no motion is pending. When a proposal is perfectly clear to all present, vote taken without motions having been introduced. Unless agreed to by unanimous consent, all proposed actions must be approved by a vote under the same rules as in larger meetings, except that a vote can be taken initially by a show of hands, which is often a better method in small meetings. 6, the chairman need not rise while putting questions to a vote. 7, if a chairman is a member, he may, without leaving the chair, speak in formal discussions and debate and vote on all questions. A key point of order, no more times a member can debate. That means that there is no calling the question as well. I know that was a lot to rattle off in a hurry. Are there questions for that? Okay, hearing none, then thank you for the indulgence and the clarification, Ms. Harlos. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the election of the recording secretary. This position is extremely important to take all the notes for what's going on in these meetings, as well as the votes, the minutes, and also keeping track of all the recordings. So with that being said, we will now open nominations for secretary.
Not it.
Don't
Someone
everybody
start playing the
volunteer at
Jeopardy
once.
theme. Someone start playing the Jeopardy theme.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we really need a secretary.
I will do interim secretary, but only for this meeting. Is that all right?
I
We can-
nominate Mr. Montoni for the permanent committee secretary.
I second.
Seconds are not needed, but okay. Mr. Montoni, would you accept that?
Well, I'm already a secretary in 2 other organizations, so I'm not sure I can do this on a permanent basis, but at least for the time being, I will do so.
Thank you, Mr. Montoni. Are there any other nominations for secretary?
Just want to get clear on that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mark, did you accept the nomination for permanent secretary, Mark?
In a Weasley kind of way, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Any other nominations for secretary? Does anybody wish to speak for NODA?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Enser.
move to close nominations if that's needed.
Doesn't necessarily say it's needed, but we'll call it a good motion. Is there any objection to closing nominations? We have something in chat. One moment. Alrighty. In chat, Mr. Montoni says he is voting NODA, so we will go to a show of hands vote because it's not going to be without objection. So, for Mr. Montoni for secretary, please raise your hands. Okay. 6, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14. Did I count these right? 1, 2, 3. I have Bergman twice here. One moment, please. I'm just trying to double check my numbers here. One moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, 16 again. Votes. Okay, please lower your hands, everybody. And votes for NODA. Mr. Montoni, are you still voting for NODA?
Yes.
All right. Just making sure. All right. 16 for Mr. Montoni, 1 for NODA. Congratulations, Mr. Montoni. You are our recording secretary. All righty. Next item of business is our meeting schedule. Okay, a couple of things to go through here. First and foremost, we have 90 minutes in our allotted time at the convention. Excuse me, for not including the time that has been set aside to deal with the token allocation issues. So the 90 minutes we have will be exclusively for our proposals that come out of this committee, just for a reference point. We have all the way up until the last minute at convention in May to do our work. That being said, I know I put out this availability schedule early on, and I see that a lot of you have filled this out, and I appreciate that. The general question for this committee for discussion at the moment is, based upon our time constraints at the convention and what we wish to accomplish here, how frequently should we be meeting going from here forward? I do recognize that we have other commitments going on at the same time. Some of us are on the National Bylaws Committee. Some of us are on our state bylaws and state platform, state level committees doing various things. So it'll be a juggling act. Acknowledge that. How can we work this to make, what kind of frequency should we establish here? And open for discussion on this. There's not a motion on the floor. This is informal discussion.
Is there any rough idea how many changes we're going to be looking at?
When I took a look at the platform and generated some initial proposals, and those are what's in the folders right now. I came up with a number of 20 different proposals. I know there is no way in the world we're going to be able to handle 20 in 90 minutes. It just the timing for the way that the convention rules work, it's not going to happen. But that being said, hang on a minute. There we go. That being said, the potential exists that we can get through probably a half a dozen. But we also have no idea how the delegates are going to work with proposals either. That's always an unknown factor. That being said, we can figure out what the priorities are and put those for going forward. I know Mr. Alstead has put a couple proposals out there as well. So it's really a function of what we think we can get through that are the highest priorities and timing. I personally think that we have enough time to get that figured out between now and then. But I leave this to the committee to figure out the frequency. Ms. Harless.
Okay, I think you're correct that realistically, we're going to get 6 proposals heard. Ambitiously, we're going to get 8. I mean, we've been through this exercise on bylaws. People are not going to like what I'm going to suggest, but I'm kind of used to people not liking me right now because apparently I'm trying to decredential the entire convention. I think we should meet every week until we have a certain number of proposals that we might winnow down from, so that we can get our report out, which can be refined. We can have additional meetings here or there leading up to convention. So the platform committee could be ready for potentially a mock convention that the bylaws committee is throwing around, and that we can enjoy our state conventions, busy getting ready for national convention. You and I have teller meetings. Most of the people in this room are going to be invited to delegate meetings. So I suggest we bang this out. Let's meet every Tuesday until we bang it out.
Okay, Mr. Brooksbank. I believe you're next. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll get to Mr. Barber next after that. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to echo what Karen Ann said. I believe, we could meet once a week until we, mash the gas right now until we can coast. And I also want to echo that, coming with 20 proposals, really to me isn't going to work. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to be on this committee, is to try to convince everybody else to, let's keep it down to 5 or 6 that we think is going to really work. Because with that 90 minutes, if you talk 15 minutes a piece, that's all our time.
Which is what's in the part of the interruption. That's what's covered in the convention rules for the period of debate without amendments. So yes.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So,
please continue.
So, and also, nothing in the bylaw says we have to use every single minute. And there's also a part of the bylaws that talks about members being able to make a motion from the floor. And I've never seen that able to happen, because we've always come with a million different proposals and we never get to them all. And so I'd at least like to have 15 minutes left over for people to be able to do that. But as far as our scheduling right now, I agree we should go once a week, and maybe we could set a deadline as to any new proposals, and then send out a ranked choice vote thing, and then pick the top 5 and bang them out. That would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooksbank. I have Mr. Barber, Mr. Cholko, then Ms. Harless. Mr. Barber.
Yeah, good evening, all. Well, first, yeah, I absolutely believe certainly no less than once a month, and probably for the months of April and March, at least twice a month. More than that, I have no objection to. However, if you note on the availability thing, the one day out of this entire period that I don't have is a Tuesday night in March.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barber. Mr. Cholko.
Thank you. So just have a couple general comments. Somebody mentioned meeting every Tuesday. I personally don't care if we meet every Tuesday, but I don't really think we should just do it the same time each week unless it just so happens that everybody or damn near everybody is available on that evening. You know, generally speaking, you know, there are some people that miss, you know, can't do a Tuesday or can't do a Thursday. If you do every one of the meetings on that day, then you might be really screwing somebody or really inconveniencing them. So I'm not sure that I don't oppose it. Doesn't hurt me, but I'm not sure I love that idea of meeting every Tuesday or whatever. Second, I heard a mention of setting a date for new proposals, which is not something that I would support. And also just generally thinking about trying to bang out our business quickly, I'm skeptical that that's doable. In my experience, I typically start hearing a few things from people in my state. The later this, closer to convention is when I start hearing things from people in my state about can you propose this? What's going on with this? So, you know, and I'm not going to not bring those proposals forward simply because, you know, we decided to meet a bunch in February. So I'll be bringing stuff, if people are bringing it to me, I'll be bringing stuff up until it becomes, you know, unreasonable to do so. So, you know, very close to convention. I think I had one more thing, but I can't remember. Oh, so I'm also skeptical that if we meet a whole bunch right now, that's going to result in us getting our business done. I think it's just going to result in the more we meet, the more proposals we're going to have. Again, I don't care. I'm fine to meet once a week, but I feel like meeting once a week is not going to result in getting our work done. It's just going to result in us doing more work if we meet once a week versus once every couple of weeks. And then finally, in terms of priority, you know, we can pass 50 proposals and then we're going to have to prioritize for our report down the road. So it's not, you know, I don't want to waste my time on 50 proposals when 45 of them won't get heard, but it's not like if we pass some crappy proposals now, it's not like, oh man, we got a crappy report. They'll just go later in the report after other stuff that we think is more important. Crappy is not the right word, but things that we don't think are real urgent. You know, if we end up, we can put the report in such an order that those things are lower priority at convention anyway.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cholko. Ms. Harless.
I'll try to get this all out here. We got a quorum easily on Tuesday. It's impossible to accommodate everybody on a 20-person committee. That's why there's alternates. Things become unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And I'll tell you why I have some very little sympathy about inconveniences. I have 2 other committee meetings on Tuesdays. So that means at 5:30, at least every other Tuesday, but there'll be at least 2 Tuesdays out of the month in which I'll have the historical committee meeting, followed by the ballot access committee, followed by the platform committee meeting. So I don't have much sympathy for inconvenience. I'm sorry if that sounds like I'm being a dick, but maybe I am being a little bit of one. I was the platform committee chair for the past 3 terms. Some of you have been on those committees and you might not remember what a terror I was towards the end, where I just set meetings and I set them 2 days apart, way in advance because of our weird 5-day notice window. And those additional meetings did not result in additional proposals. That just hasn't happened the past 6 times. Mr. Cholko is correct. He could bring a proposal up to the meeting leading up to the convention report. But I do think that the rest of the committee won't be very patient for that. On bylaws, the same thing happened. We had a gentleman's agreement of a deadline for proposals. Anyone on bylaws can still bring another proposal, but we just had a nice informal agreement amongst ourselves, which is completely unenforceable unless we voluntarily agree to duel. Since we're libertarians, that is a real possibility. And I'll just remind everyone, I took fencing as a young person, so you probably don't want to duel me. I think everyone is adult enough to realize we have 90 minutes. And I know there will be conflicting philosophies on this. There was on bylaws, so we did come to a consensus. Say we have 50 proposals. I do not believe that the delegates look kindly on having a report that has 5 times, 6 times more proposals than can ever realistically be heard. I believe it's our responsibility to narrow our report down to what can be heard. And then we pass on the rest of the proposals to the next committee with no obligation that they even take them up. It's advisory. You know, hey, you might like these ideas. You might want to throw them on a campfire. It's completely up to you. We don't get to bind the hands of a future committee. And that's also what we're doing on bylaws. So I'm waiting to see if there's any other comments, but I could tell you I'm prepared to make a motion that we meet every Tuesday. But I want to hear from everyone else. But those are my thoughts. I think banging this out early is considerate to the delegates and lets us start to do other work leading up to convention.
All right, thank you, Ms. Harlos. Just as a point also, I've had received a couple of requests that some of the proposals that were not heard in the last committee be looked at in this one. Just, it's not binding, but I know from long experience at the state level, leaving things left behind creates a backlog that can cause much problems down the road that we hopefully would like to try to avoid. But I recognize also we're on a tight convention schedule, not on a tight meeting schedule. Mr. Enser, you had your hand up and then you lowered it.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to make a comment. I've decided not to.
All righty, thank you, sir. All righty, is there any further discussion on a schedule? Is there any motions regarding setting a schedule? Ms. Harlos.
Yes, I move to have our meetings. I don't know for how long, but for right now, until we decide we're done, every Tuesday at the same time. And then the committee can decide when it thinks it's done.
I second that motion. This is Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Weir. Seconds aren't necessary, but that's okay. Appreciate it. So the motion before us is to set our meetings for every Tuesday from 8 o'clock. Now I know this one was running from 9, but is this committee good to go from 8 to 10 Central Time? Let me ask this, Ms. Harlos, was that your intention, 8 to 10?
I had no intention as to length. I leave that to the discretion of the chair or another committee member who wishes to make a motion.
7 to 9 would work better for me.
Forgive me, who was that?
Russell Brooksbank.
Mr. Brookbanks, okay. Sir, what time zone are you in?
I'm in the Eastern time zone.
You're in Eastern,
But-
okay.
But I get up at 4:30 in the morning.
For myself, 9 o'clock works. Anything else would conflict with other meetings.
Okay, let's
9 Eastern, so.
Let's please raise hands to be recognized.
I don't
please.
have the hand raised thing. I'm sorry, I couldn't. It's not on my screen.
Okay, Mr. Chilko.
Is anybody aware of any representatives? For this purpose, I'll leave off alternates, but is anybody aware of any reps that cannot do Tuesdays? I'm guessing that's a no.
It's an inconvenience to me. That's the only thing why I didn't have it Tuesdays on mine. That's only, but I can still make it.
Alrighty,
Mr. Chair,
who's that?
this is Mark Montoni. Sorry, my hand waving thing doesn't work. Who moved the proposal for the regular meeting date or schedule?
That was Ms. Harlow's.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Harlow said Mr. Elstad. Ms. Harlow's, you're up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were calling upon me. Yeah, the motion on the floor is for 9 Eastern. You start making it earlier Eastern. I shudder to think what that is for Alaska, but that's 6 Pacific. No, it was 7 Eastern. That makes it 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific. People do have jobs. That unfortunately, when it comes to the East Coast, most committee meetings are at 9. That's just the way it is when you're on the East Coast.
Mr. Elstad.
Oh, I was basically going to make Karen, Ms. Harlow's point.
Alrighty. Currently, the motion is to have our meetings every Tuesday starting at 8 Central, which would be 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern, and forgive me for Mr. McCose and Ms. Cliff. I'm not sure what that translates to for Alaska time.
9 is 5. I put in 4, but it's 5 for us.
Thank you. One of these days I'll get up there. I'll get up there on a trip to see your state, but it's on my bucket list. But anyway, is there, okay, at this point we have a starting point of 8 Central. Do we wish to have an amendment to add an end time, or is this committee willing to put it to chair's discretion? Hearing, oh, Mr. Barber.
I would be perfectly happy leaving it to the chair's discretion.
Alrighty, is there any objection by the committee to leaving it to me to set the closing time on these meetings? Okay, hearing none, I will make it a command decision to make it run from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central each Tuesday. Now, we still haven't proved this yet, so is there further, excuse me, beg the committee's pardon on that. Is there any further discussion on the motion to have our meetings every Tuesday, starting at 8 p.m. Central? Mr. Enser.
Mr. Chair, I call the question.
There is no calling of the question in small committees.
Sorry.
It's okay, we get that a lot. Is there any objection at this point by any member of the committee for this motion to set our meetings from every Tuesday from 8 to 10 Central? Hearing none, that is what we shall set them for. I will set up a meeting notice on Zoom for everybody so that we have that available. Alrighty. Item number 6, we have review of relevant convention rules and bylaws. Now, if you'll bear with me one quick moment, because I have that somewhere. Where did I put it? The short form of it is that the relevant rules in the convention rules for the bylaws are out there on the pages. For me, I'm working off of two different computers at the same time here. Find it real quick. The committee itself is in, I'm gonna get down to the right section, Article 11, as you all well know. But that's just for selection. We've already covered that, and ranked alternates. Convention rules cover us under Rule 5, debating and voting for the platform. Just to walk through this real fast. There will be the vote on the deleting of the blanks. Tokens are issued by credentials committee, issued to delegates and fill them in and turn them in. They get tallied by the tellers to determine what they're going to wind up being. They have an hour. They have to be turned in an hour before the start of our platform report. At which point, at the first item of the business, we will go through to determine which ones of the tokens are up for a vote, up or down. To delete has to be 20% or more of the number of credentialed delegates. That might change depending on what happened with the bylaws. And that's without debate. Then after that, we have our 90 minutes to go over our recommendations. Go right mouse here. If we have no minority report for a proposal, for a recommendation, the committee chair, that will be me, reads up a recommendation and 2 minutes to explain it.
House, and I was called to give the bees a new home. So
Whoever that, please mute. Thank you. The convention chair. Ms. Harlow, was that you on the voice, or so somebody needs to mute? Okay. The chair, that would be me, then opens the convention chair, excuse me, that's not me. Opens up the recommendation to debate without amendment for 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes without bringing it to a vote. If the recommendation fails, it then goes into possible amendments. And if there are amendments, the chair shall request a vote on whether to consider amendments. By majority, may consider amendments for up to 10 minutes. If there is a minority report, for a majority and minority positions have 2 minutes to present their views. The chair then is open to consideration of both positions for 5 minutes, during which time the delegates may express opinions without offering amendments. After 5 minutes, we vote on which of the two shall be considered for the purposes of adopting a recommendation. Greater number of votes shall then be discussed and voted on in the manner described above. After the committee recommendations, there are delegate proposals from the floor, similar rules. And if time permits, which there won't be anything that we say no, but still go in the report, may be considered. And if there are challenges, it goes before the judicial committee by 10% of the delegates believing there's an issue. That may be hopefully not happen, because there are 2 members of the judicial committee on this committee, but we'll figure that issue out as the time. Hopefully, as we'll figure it out if it pops up when the time comes. I would encourage everyone to review that. I kind of paraphrased it because I know we're kind of a little tight on time because we have 5 minutes before we're done. But any general questions regarding the rules and how we have to present things at convention? All right, hearing none.
Nope.
We are down to the last item on the agenda, which was adjournment. But before we are going to do that, I am going to open it back up for any further public comment. So is there anybody who wishes to be recognized for a second round of that? Mr. Ensor.
Yeah, I know I had asked this in the email, but I figure for the public record, could you clarify how we should submit proposals for changes to the platform that we'd like to submit?
Excellent question. In these shared folders, and I'm going to bring this up as I talk to you guys so I can say it correctly. There is where did it go? No, that's not it. Okay, within the shared drive, there is a series of folders. There is a proposals rejected. Those are the ones we would turn down. There's proposals drafts, which have been pre-written. There is adopted, which we don't have any yet. There's our minutes, which Mr. Montoni just added in. And then there is a folder called forms. Within that forms folder, there is a Word document that says platform proposal form. And that form itself it's a templated version of what would go in for a draft for a proposal for the committee. It has a title, it has a blank in reference, inserts a description of what the issue may be with the blank, a proposed solution, what would be good for it, a markup for what the proposed amendment would look like, and of course the sponsors are there. I hope that the template is pretty straightforward. That was what we would use to put proposals into play. And once you have a proposal written up, it would go into the drafts folder for us to look over. And I would ask that any putting those in, please put a notification, a copy of it out on our chat list as well, so people can peruse it and look through it in between meetings.
So just to clarify, so if I had a proposal for a specific plank, I would write it up. I would put that in the proposal drafts folder, and then link to that document and send an email to the platform committee list stating.
Yes, that would be the best approach.
Okay, that's what I figured. I just wanted to clarify that on the record.
Yeah. No. Great question. Mr. Brookbanks has a question in chat. I will make this real quick. He says, there was a motion for a platform change, not part of the platform committee report last time. What was it? Yes, there was. There was actually several, one of which had to do with the wording on one of the planks regarding movement of labor and human capital across borders. That was one that had came up in the last committee because the wording was, frankly, pardon my opinion, atrocious. And there was a proposal to fix it, and it never got to being heard in the last convention. That's there's like 3 or 4, but that was the biggest one. And I do have a proposal in the drafts to handle that one already. Mr. Alstad.
Yeah, in the directory for the proposals, there was like a high priority, low priority, and style. Are those still? Are those classifications still in there? Or are we supposed
They are still in there. I did that when I was working through some of these things after I'd gotten appointed to the committee. And upon knowledge of not only having 90 minutes, I realized there's no way in the world we would get to all of them. So I kind of gave them my own take for what it's worth on a priority in terms of that level of importance. I by no means claim that to be gospel truth. And if the committee feels otherwise, that's great. I was using this as a starting point.
So when you make up the agenda, if we don't put it in high priority, does it have any chance of getting on the agenda?
I would suggest that for drafts that you come up with, to just put them in the drafts folder, not in one of the 4 prioritizations, and then we can look at them directly that way.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brooksbank and Mr. McCose.
Yeah, I was saying, at the last convention, I remember doing the speed round and everything, and at the end of it, we were done. I didn't notice any, motions from the floor other than what was put out by the platform committee. Are you
There was-
saying that?
No, sir. What I'm saying is that the proposals by last platform committee were not all heard.
Right, exactly. So that's what I was saying is that, if you alluded into the rules and everything, is that if the platform committee, the time that's allotted, if we get through all the platform committee proposals and there's time left, the members are allowed to make motions from the floor.
Yes, sir.
And I've never seen that happen.
Both Mr. Alstead and Mr. Montoni in the chat say there was one. I will admit I was a little preoccupied with things at that point.
Yeah,
but
that's why I was like, which one, where, when,
Yeah.
how? Because I don't
Yeah.
remember ever seeing one.
I think that would be in the convention minutes. Ms. Harlow doesn't think there was. I honestly don't remember.
Right, me either.
Yeah, Mr. McCose.
Yeah, okay, you can hear me now.
Yep.
There was the agorism plank that was proposed on the floor. There was also the changes to the trying to remember the bigotry line that was from the floor. I'm trying to remember what there was one more, but there was a total of actually like 3 different proposals from the floor that was from the floor that was not part of our platform committee report. I'm not saying it's in my regards that was from the floor that it was not part of the platform report. Other than that was it. I don't
No,
remember if
that was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Actually, folks, I need to interrupt. We are 2 minutes over. Is there a motion to extend time?
I'd move to extend time for 5 minutes just to resolve this question because I think everyone's answering a question that isn't what was asked.
Right.
Is there objection to extending for 5 minutes to answer this, get this question resolved? All right, hearing none, I'm going to ask Ms. Harlos to address it because as convention secretary, she was custodian of the minutes and I believe can give us the best answer.
Well, I was also platform committee chair. I believe the question that was asked was, in the standing agenda, there is an item that says, once the platform committee report is done, then there's an open time that does not require suspension of the rules to hear from committee members. That is the question that was asked. Have we ever gotten to this open time that does not require a suspension of the rules? In my history in the party, we never have. The agorism plank was part of the platform committee report. It came straight out of the Colorado platform. Very familiar with it. The amendment to the discrimination plank was a suspension of the rules during the platform token deletion program. The question I believe Russell asked, if it was Russell, I think I have it correct, was if we've ever gotten to those. There's several items on the standing agenda I've never seen us get to, which is open time for proposals from the floor and time for proposals from the committee which did not receive a majority vote. That's something that everyone else also forgets as part of our standing agenda as well. And to my knowledge, I've never seen that happen. Somebody who has been around longer may have seen that happen, but I'm going on 10 years now. I've never seen it happen, and it certainly did not happen in Reno. What I think people are thinking of is the property plank, which interrupted the speed round of the platform committee report, but that required a 2/3 suspension of the rules. That was not what the question was asking.
And I can speak from a little older experience. For at least 2008 and 2010, there was never anything from the floor proposed or unfavorable proposals from the committee that were heard. I can't speak for 2012 or 2014. 2016, 18, and 20, to my recollection, there wasn't any then either.
Thank
I
you,
will
Ms.
also-
Harlow.
I would also point out that the agorism plank, as was mentioned, is one of the proposals in draft, as well as the one regarding the human capital, and I believe there was one other one in there, but I remember those very specifically. Okay, I think we have hit this, we've beaten that horse to a pulp. So at this point, we are going to be adjourned until 8 p.m. next Tuesday. I am going to stop the recording right now.